In the near future, the Metaverse blurred the lines between reality and a fantasy world cooked up by anonymous developers. Even worse, everyone was using it one way or another. Some people lost themselves chasing down imaginary cartoon monsters in the alleyways of virtual cities, while others attempted to educate themselves through a 6-month course in a simulated classroom. Truth be told, most of them tried to get off to AI-generated pornography that made the porn stars look like people they knew in real life. No one blamed the people who fled to the Metaverse. It was a breath of fresh air compared to the mind-numbing bullshit of the real world, when corporations weren't bombarding the masses with prompts to buy more stuff. They were tearing the world down and dumping poison into the atmosphere and water. Talking heads rehashed the same tired subjects every week and called it news, distracting the public with pointless things to keep their focus off the wealthy running the real world. There was no shortage of politicians who had long ago abandoned all sense of decency and bickered back and forth like children. The Metaverse offered a welcoming alternative. Solana pondered whether the world needed to be that way. What if people didn't need to retreat into the Metaverse? What if it was normal, everyday life that changed? These were the questions that once kept Solana up at night. And although these questions didn't have easy answers, the answers were there. She just needed to find them. The day had finally arrived when Solana would again meet face-to-face with her long-term rival yet mentor. The man operated out of a seemingly abandoned industrial complex outside San Diego. She opened a heavy fire door, something not originally intended to open from the outside. With bent rebar welded into it, she let herself inside a dimly lit room filled with thousands of blinking purple and blue lights of computer servers. The whirring fans created a quiet, constant hum. She found the man hunched over a keyboard in the far corner, typing while engaged in a phone conversation. The glow of 4 screens illuminated him with an array of colors.
I'll call you back, beautiful redhead. I have a visitor.
Ethereum ended the call and, without turning around, greeted his guest.
Good to see you again, Solana. You're just in time. I think I've done it.
What do you mean by it?
Solana asked. She narrowed her eyes.
Surely you don't mean it.
I do.
Ethereum turned and opened his hand. There was a shimmering holographic glyph floating just an inch above his palm. Solana's eyes opened wide at the sight of the object.
You can't be serious. Tell me you're not serious.
She whispered.
Oh, I'm serious.
Ethereum replied, admiring his handiwork.
The time has come. In my hand, I hold the future. With this glyph, humanity will finally be able to achieve the freedom it deserves. The freedom I have always desired. This is it, Solana. Beyond even.
Ethereum was cut short by an explosion. A cloud of dense smoke suddenly filled the server room from what appeared to be canister-type grenades. Solana instinctively sprinted towards him, grabbed the digital artifact, and dashed off into the rows of servers. The skylights burst open, and a platoon of SWAT soldiers dropped down with a shower of glass shards. Ethereum recoiled from the falling glass, spinning around and covering his face. Meanwhile, Solana dropped to the ground and laid motionless, doing her best to remain undetected. A SWAT soldier patrolled close by before rejoining the squad. Ethereum was dropped to the floor by a jackboot to the back of his knee. He was seized under the armpits and swiftly dragged out of view. A man in a black suit let himself through the same access door Solana had used. A military laminate ID badge hung from his lapel, and she could barely make out the name, G. Goldman. His patent leather shoes crunched through the broken glass as he approached Ethereum, who was fully restrained by 2 faceless soldiers in tactical gear.
So, Ethereum,
The man said.
is that what you're calling yourself now? Did you think you could scrub your identity and the government would toss their hands up and assume you had vanished? Come on. Surely you know better than that.
I know a lot of things,
Ethereum replied. The government man held his open palm and said,
Give it to me.
So, you can shuffle it up the ranks straight to your superiors? You'll have to kill me.
He gritted his teeth. The government man casually took out a gun, cocked it, and placed the barrel on the programmer's forehead.
Don't tempt me. I'd rather not.
He leaned in closer, bringing his lips to Ethereum's ear.
It can happen with your brain inside or outside of your head. That decision, my friend, is entirely up to you.
The man stood and addressed his soldiers.
Take this piece of work back to the department. Prosecute him for anything you can think of. Obstruction, conspiracy, treason. Pile it on.
The SWAT team dragged Ethereum away right past Solana, who laid unnoticed on the floor. And then they were gone. Solana stood up when the room had been quiet for 5 minutes, and she was sure no one was coming back. She had never seen eye to eye with Ethereum, but they were begrudging allies against a common enemy. That same enemy had dealt a crushing blow to the uprising by arresting Ethereum. She stared off at the distant city lights of San Diego, and while she didn't know what to do, she knew she had to do something.